Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and everything in between. Welcome back to Old Man Rambling. You may have noticed I still buy stuff. I still buy physical copies of books and music and movies. And I've gotten a bit of flack for this at times. People are saying, it's useless. It's out of date. Why are you doing this? It's so much more, convenient and everything to do everything digitally. Why do you still have 800 CDs? Just get rid of them and have it all digital. Buy books on Kindle, yada yada. And they've got a point. It is more efficient. These things take up an enormous amount of space, in my home and in storage. It's also more environmentally conscious. I mean, this takes material to produce. Books take paper, CDs and DVDs take plastic and bits of metal. There's production, there's transportation, there's storage. This all takes its toll on the environment, which is already under a lot of stress because hundreds of millions of people are being pushed to consume as much as possible. So I get their point. Part is that I'm an old man. I like to have a thing when I buy something. I don't like to pay money and just get some pixels. I like to buy something and have a thing. It's a thing I bought. So there's that. But there's more to it than that. When I first got my first iPod, and I got iTunes, I was very happy to have full access to all my music all the time. I could take it with me everywhere. I didn't have to, carry a giant box of cassette tapes and listen to music in the car. I could just take my little iPod and have all of it all the time. It was great. But then I read Apple's end user license agreement and realized that anything I purchased digitally from Apple, I don't own. I'm buying permission to play it from Apple, nothing more. And I'm only buying permission to play it for myself. If I buy a CD and I decide, oh, I don't like this, I can give it to someone else. Oh, I don't like this. Kid, do you like this? Here, take it. Apple, I can't do that with. If I don't have permission to do that from Apple. If I decide I don't like it, I have to delete it. And that's it. Apple owns control of that. I have none. I don't like that. So, it's the same for other media too. Like, if for streaming stuff, I have to have that streaming service. I have to pay for it. And there are currently 7 different streaming services, all with exclusive content. There are 7 of these things. I've got to pay, what are they, like $10, $15, $12 a month, something like that? That's like I'm paying over $100 a month if I want to watch whatever I want to watch, because they all have good content. I have to either pick and choose or shell out a chunk of money constantly. These companies do not have our best interests at heart. They want exclusive content, just like they want exclusive access to our wallets. The environment is not for an instant their concern in this. It is their own greed. And did you ever notice, if you go online and you purchase an album, that album costs almost as much as buying the exact physical copy, depending on whether or not it's out of print. I mean, out of print stuff costs more because it's not being printed. You got to buy someone else's copy who's willing to get rid of it. It may be a little cheaper, but not a lot. And where do you think that extra money's going? It's not going back to the creator of the people who wrote the album. It's certainly not going into the stores who used to sell this stuff. No, it's going back to the record company or to Amazon. They're pocketing the extra cash. They're not getting, for us, instant, giving an extra dime to the person who wrote that song. Their goal is to cut as much money out of their pockets as possible and dump it in their own. They don't care about the writers. And the same thing goes for books. You know, a book on Kindle is like $8. The physical copy is like what, 9, 10? Yeah, it's like $2 or $3 cheaper. But again, you know, that money's going back to the publishing company. They're also not, you know, giving us any savings either. You know, when you know, the cost of making an album, a third of that cost is production. They're not cutting the cost by 30%. They're maybe cutting the cost by 10, 20%. You know, they're not, you know, they're pocketing an extra 10 or 20%. It's you know, plus, you know, the fact that it's all going back to the companies. They don't want us to have a better savings. They're not paying there's no money going to the physical stores, no extra money going back to the creators. It's all going back to the production companies, people who think they own the content that other people make. And it's getting harder to buy physical copies. You know, people are going more because, you know, people are going digital because it's cheaper, which means the stores stock less, which means when people go to the stores to buy something, it's not on the shelves, which means they have to go back and buy more digital. So it's this cycle of, you know, that feeds on itself. There's less and less physical media because people are buying less of it, and then it just, people who want physical media can't get it, so then they've got to buy digital media. So it's getting worse and not better, and not in a way that's better for us as consumers. Not for an instant was it done for our convenience, to save us money, to make things easier for us. It was all done in service of the almighty dollar, and it sucks. So until this stuff starts becoming free in digital form, or access to it becomes more equitable, this old man is going to keep being physical copies, buying physical copies, not being physical copies. I mean, I think I'm a physical copy, last time I checked. I'm going to keep buying physical copies as long as I can. Just, if for no other reason than to keep it harder for them to take it away from me, and to share it with people I want to share it with. Good hunting.